Seltzer Kings
podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Global X. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been committed to empowering investors with unexplored, intelligent solutions. Global X specializes in exchange-traded funds that offer exposure to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, including themes like data centers, robotics, semiconductors, and cloud computing. To learn more about Global X's entire suite of ETFs, from covered calls, fixed income, emerging markets, and more, visit globalxetfs.com.
What does an 18-year veteran of the tech industry and a 20-year veteran of the military have in common? More than you might think. Welcome, everyone, to the Second Act podcast, leveling up your life's journey.
You can't stop me. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not an option. I'm my biggest problem. You don't got the power. Shut me down. That's not an option. You can't stop me.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Second Act with Michael and John.
What up, what up?
What up, John? I don't know if you're noticing, but they say co-hosts that work together long enough start to look like each other.
I am
so I don't know if
noticing
that's
that.
good for me or bad for you.
Are you
but
saying that there's gray in your beard?
there's a little gray, some scruffiness.
Yes.
We'll see how long I can keep it going. I don't know.
One of these days I'll pick up the all black outfit, and then, JB won't be able to tell us apart when he's doing the producing, but
Unless we're in
still a little bit of time
person.
to come.
Yeah, 'cause you got a couple inches on.
Yeah, that's true.
height-wise. But yeah, we have another winner this week.
Yes.
Again, we don't announce the winners of our giveaways each week on the show anymore, just because of how the production and release process goes. But if you follow us on Instagram, Second Act with MJ, or you visit our website, michaelandjohn.com, you can see the winner's name each week.
Yeah.
And then on our website, you can register to win. And it's just our way of paying a little something forward to whoever is willing to sign up and be a potential recipient. So it's a fun and exciting and gratifying sort of thing that we throw in the mix.
Let me say, I have no chance of winning, and I'm excited to jump on weekly and see who wins and then look them up and see who they are and be like, oh, that's cool, because they're listeners. And so it's cool, one, to give something to our listeners, but then two, to put a face to the name. That's really cool. Some of those people out there, though, are low profile online, so I like it.
They are, yeah.
But man, it is a fun thing to do weekly, so keep it up.
Yeah. And our growing audience, we just get tremendous feedback from folks about our episodes, which keeps John and I motivated to continuing to put out content. We're not doing it quite as frequently. You may notice there's either every other week cycle, or if there's sometimes a little bit of a gap, but we're still putting it out there. We have incredible guests, including today, and it never ceases to amaze me how much sort of common foundation there is among all of them who have such diverse backgrounds. It's awesome.
Well, and really, we give a break now, Michael, let's be honest, because our listeners are so loyal that all they're doing is listening to our episodes, and we want to spread out our episodes so they can listen to other great podcasts out there.
Yes, it is long form. I mean, we're talking about an hour of your time, and that was 4 hours a month, which, if we can get 4 seconds of time from people, it's amazing these days.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get to your point, John. We want to give everyone a little bit of space to explore other things for themselves, and then other amazing podcasts, folks out there.
I love it. Well, with that, Michael, I'd love to introduce our guest today, if I could.
Yes, please.
Well, today we welcome Sarah Nightengale to the show. Sarah Nightengale is an accomplished military spouse with over 13 years of experience in higher education, marketing, recruiting, healthcare administration, recreation, and data analytics in the financial sector. Currently, Sarah is a senior advisor for supervision metrics and reporting at Raymond James Financial. Sarah is also a certified Google data analytics professional and registered yoga teacher. A strong advocate for military spouse employment, Sarah has been involved with the Hiring Our Heroes Military Spouse Professional Network since 2014, serving as chapter lead for 3 chapters. She has been recognized by Hire Heroes USA as the Military Spouse of the Year for her contributions to the community, as well as actively supports the well-being of service members and their families through her volunteer work as a yoga instructor. Sarah currently resides at Carlisle Barracks, Pennsylvania, with her husband, Lieutenant Colonel William Weaver, and their 2 dogs, try to get this right, Perseus and Finnick. Is that right, Sarah? Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Welcome to the show, Sarah. We're so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm incredibly humbled to be here amongst the ranks of some superstars that you always have on your show.
Well, we've been blessed to have some phenomenal guests, and I have no doubt that your story is going to be incredibly powerful for some individuals out there. And I know as a military spouse, first of all, let me say thank you. I'm not the military spouse, I'm the military service member, but I couldn't have done what I did over 20 years without my wife and her support. And it almost puts a tear in my eye, but I appreciate the long days and the deployments and the years of continual backing that she showed me through my service. And I know that you are amongst that strong support and that bedrock between successful service members and their service. And so thank you for that, first of all.
Thank you. It can be a lot.
So tell us real quick about your husband, Lieutenant Colonel William Weaver, so that we can get into your service, backing him up.
So he has about 22 years active duty service in the Army. He is I'm probably going to mess this up, but a 90 Alpha. He's a logistician, transportation, logistics. He's currently serving at Army War College. So this year is a nice year for him where he gets to step back, write some papers, focus on theory. He's done, I think, 5 deployments: Iraq, Afghanistan, Liberia, actually a couple tours in Afghanistan, did an exchange in the UK. The UK was before we met. And then we have been overseas together twice. So about 4 years overseas, 2 years in Korea, 2 years in Norway. And we've moved together 9 times in our 12 years of marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the military life right there.
Yeah. He's had a pretty dynamic career, been a lot of places. So it's been quite an adventure.
Well, one thing I love about service members like your husband is logisticians will tell you that logistics wins wars. That's what does it. It's not the pointing into the spear. It's not the bombs coming off the airplanes or the soldiers in the field. It's logistics that wins wars. So, and I would have to agree with them and say that it's that continual backing, that continual support, the continual supply of things that keeps us going. And so hats off to him for his many years of service being a logistician. So that's pretty cool.
Nothing happens until something moves.
Got it. You got it.
I imagine, there's a big element of efficient execution associated with logistics. And I did not serve in the military. I have family members that did, Sarah. And in the business world, in the world that I've spent most of my career, it's not usually the companies with the best ideas that do well. It's the ones that are able to execute the best on those ideas. Yep. And I'm sure your husband plays an integral role around that in what he's doing for the Army. But then sort of bringing it back to you, you're having to sort of efficiently execute everything else in the family life for you and him and many of the things that you have going on with your 2 amazing dogs, I'm sure. So why don't we jump into your story and you share a little bit about how things began for Sarah?
Yeah.
Sure. Do you want me to start all the way back?
Wherever you're comfortable. People like to just sort of follow a story and understand the journey. So wherever you want to start, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I know a lot of your people start out in their youth. I always wanted to be a diplomat.
Okay.
Kind of a weird career for a kid, but when I was in junior high, I was a peer mediator, and I was like, this stuff is easy. I'm going to become a diplomat. I'm going to mediate conflicts. I'm going to create peace in the Middle East. And that's where I thought I was going. Turns out that it's a lot harder to do
Yes.
than, just getting your college degree and walking over to an embassy and saying, please hire me. But I knew I wanted to have an impact and do something with international business. And beyond that, my plan was pretty hairy. But that's when I started working in higher education recruiting. And in doing so, kind of saw different avenues and was looking at a Master of Peace and Conflict Studies in Australia. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do with my life. And that's when I met my husband.
Wow.
And as a good man does, he can derail a plan. So I decided to kind of put that on hold a little bit and step back and just see where that took me. And during that time, ended up moving down to Colorado Springs to be a little bit closer to him.
Yeah.
I was living up in Denver at the time, and
Oh, nice.
started working in healthcare administration and realized that, this is actually something I really love. I feel like I have an impact. I may not be making peace in the Middle East, but I'm improving healthcare without a scalpel, because you don't want me to have that. So that became my passion. And I was fortunate enough to land in a company where before people even went remote, they let me go remote and stay with him.
Wow.
When I said,
Nice.
hey, guess what? I'm engaged to a soldier. They
Yeah.
were like, this is a problem. So, a lot of negotiation and work later, I was able to get that to go remote with me. And it was amazing. I still love that company. If you're ever in Colorado Springs and you need radiology care, radiology and imaging consultants, fantastic.
Very cool.
But we got orders to Korea, and after about 6 years of being remote with them, they said, I don't think that's going to work. So that's when it became a career roller coaster. I had to say goodbye. That was my first really big hurdle as a military spouse. I mean, going remote was a hurdle because it changed the landscape of, what I could do for the company and how I operated and my scope of responsibility. And that was kind of frustrating. But then going to Korea meant I had to give all of that up. And part of it was exciting. You're moving overseas. You get to experience something new. Korea is an incredible country, like off of so many people's radar, and just an amazing experience to get out there and explore. And in doing so, when you go overseas, there are not a lot of job opportunities for spouses.
Yeah.
So it was, how to keep yourself busy, how to keep yourself relevant, how to keep your resume going. And I was lucky enough to, through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Hiring Our Heroes Military Spouse Network, connect with another spouse who was trying to get a network started out there. Yeah. So I was able to help her lay the foundation for that network and grow that network and gather together a group of military spouses who were all career-minded, who were kind of in the same boat. Some who were able to keep their job or get contracting positions in Korea, and some who were kind of in my boat where, the base hospital doesn't want to hire you, or, you work in some other industry and you're currently unemployed. So that gave us a really fantastic network and platform to be able to continue networking and professional growth despite being in a location where, it's incredibly challenging to work. And then I was fortunate enough to get hired on part-time as a test center administrator for University of Maryland's global campus, where I basically checked people into online testing.
Okay.
And that was not the career path I had hoped for in life, but it gave me something to do. It gave me some purpose, some structure, some routine, and it allowed me to take some classes and continue to build on my resume, because I knew that if I just stayed unemployed, I was going to lose my mind. I'm a little bit like a working dog, where if I don't have a job, I'm going to get a little bit feisty and drive my poor husband nuts. So it's best to keep me in the job market. So then we left Korea, and we're only in Louisiana for 1 year. couldn't find a job there. It's a very small rural community. By the time you get in through, government hiring, you've already been there 6-7 months, and we were only there 10. So I volunteered with a hospital and tried to keep my skills relevant. And then we went overseas again. So it's just been this huge roller coaster. And thankfully, when we were overseas this time, I was able to get in as a recreation coordinator for the Air Force. And being in Norway, being a recreation coordinator, I'm getting paid to take people skiing and hiking. And
that's awesome.
There you go.
Terrible, terrible activities like that nobody likes. Ugly landscape. And so that's kind of a dream job. That was pretty amazing. But it was also a really great learning opportunity because I got to work in a new industry and you learn something new. I reported up to a services director in the GS world who was an incredible boss. He was very inspiring. He, asked me, what do you want to do when you leave here? And how can I help you leverage your experiences? And the Air Force crew of active duty people did the same thing, and they were amazing. So when we left, I was able to take that experience, and even though it's, taking someone skiing isn't really translatable to data, I did take processes and procedures that we did in Norway, and I turned them into something else. I created different spreadsheets and trackers and, ways that we could more effectively build office procedures and track our customers and find ways that we could have all the skis ready and prepared on a certain date because we knew that this is when something was going to happen. So just helping, turn little things into relevant skills.
Yeah.
And then we came back, and that's when I started my data analytics training just to kind of reskill and try and get back into healthcare, but ended up doing healthcare analytics, which was a fantastic platform, a really good learning experience to get into the data field and kind of back into healthcare. But that company, they were purchased by a new private equity firm. And so with that came a lot of changes, and last in, first out, I got laid off.
Yep.
So I was back to the drawing board again for the umpteenth time. And after 3 months of just banging my head into the wall, trying to get another job, just find something. Nobody wants to hire somebody remotely when they don't know you. And when you're in a small town in rural Missouri, they don't want to hire a military spouse because they know you're going to leave. So that's when I joined up with Hire Heroes USA to get a resume built and really refocus and, put together a strategy. What do you want to do? How do you want to build your career? And then using that, I joined a fellowship program through Hiring Our Heroes and was able to get in with that and leverage my experiences and get in with Raymond James, which has been just an amazing transition. I've never worked in finance. I never targeted finance. I had no idea that this was even an opportunity for me. And for the first time in 13 years, I feel like I have the ability to create a 5-year plan and, have career growth. And it's just, it's been a journey.
Yeah. Well,
Short story
Sarah,
long.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great journey. And, hopefully you give yourself enough credit for being so adaptable to these changing circumstances.
Yeah.
One of the things I just want to go back to, when you first got deployed overseas to Korea with your husband, and you had to give up your job for that in lieu of the adventure. So there's that adventure-seeking aspect that's fun, but I imagine that wears off a little bit over time. And now you're in a foreign country trying to find your footing as a military spouse. What are you telling yourself, or what's going through your mind to give you the strength to really sort of appreciate the circumstances for what they are, and then where that journey is going to take you? And what are you telling yourself each time that happens for those, whether you're a military family or not? Because there's a lot of spouses out there that do sacrifice themselves and their career, whether it's in business or in the military or wherever, who are sitting there wondering, like, who am I? And how do I get through this? So I'd love to just share sort of what's going on in your mind during this period.
Absolutely. There's a lot that went through my mind. Like, there were moments of, did we make the right choice? Should I have come to Korea? I just sacrificed a great job with a group of people that I adored, and I had career trajectory, and, other military spouses had warned me that, it's not something they chose to do because it's too hard. And I should be putting my spouse's career ahead of mine. So I tried to do that. And you can do that to an extent, but then I started to feel like I was losing my identity a little bit. And not that my identity is wrapped up in what I do or having a job, but there's a different mental aspect to putting your brain to work, to creating a product, to doing something that you have built. And you can do that as a military spouse, as a volunteer. And I tried to do that. And so that's when leveraging the Military Spouse Professional Network became so important to me, because I knew that I could create a community that helps other spouses who are doing the same thing I am. You don't have to be employed in a job that pays you to create pathways, to create progression, personally and professionally. Growth does not have a set path. No path is the same. And, maybe I'm not on the path that I thought I would be. I'm not, sitting down between Israel and Palestine right now saying, stop. But I am creating a different pathway to something that I don't know yet. And I'm creating a network, and I'm learning, and I'm growing, because everybody who's on this journey with me has something to contribute. And so I can learn from them, and they can learn from me, and we can create a network together. So that's really where my passion for helping, spouses grow themselves and grow their capabilities started. And I think you can find that everywhere. Be a stay-at-home mom, not affiliated with the military. You just have to find the right tribe of people who are there to pick you up when you need to be spatulated, and to champion you when you say, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and I don't know what to do. And someone else can say, hey, I know about a returnship program.
Yeah.
And it's just getting in with the right people and having the right mindset. But not every day was easy, and there were a lot of ups and downs with that.
Sarah, I think the quick story you just gave us, the quick background you gave us, is so important to recognize how you achieved at every stage along the way. And looking at my wife and, her desires to work at times, to stay at home as a mother at times, those are difficult decisions. And she's a teacher, which makes it easier to travel because, everywhere we go, teachers are needed. But it's hard when you're going to get into a teacher's network and only teach for 1 year, and then you've got to resubmit that application, get rehired again in a new place with no other background. But here you are, you're able to go from job to job to job and in many different fields, and kind of just find what worked for that period of time and that location. And in all of that, you did stay relevant. You did keep learning. You did keep progressing, which is kudos to you for just keeping that mindset. And then the second thing I want to, bring up attention to is the military network and how strong that is. Because I would venture to say that at any place along your journey, you had anywhere from one other to, 5 to 10 other spouses who are all reeling in the same situation, dealing with the same stuff, who are all trying to lift each other up and help promote each other. And that's what I think is super important about the military network and the spouses and service members that we have listening. There's so many other people rooting for you and championing you, but here you are returning the favor now. So I just wanted to say thank you for that as well. But great job navigating that whole 13-year experience and coming out on top in the way that you did.
Thank you. It's a lot, and sometimes are a lot easier than others, but the community, absolutely. There's something about military spouses where even if you have a spouse who has chosen not to work and they have 6 stay-at-home kids and their idea of success is totally different than yours, you still have a commonality and you still have a camaraderie and you still understand those challenges of moving every 1 to 3 years, and that openness to meet each other and champion each other no matter what your end goal is. And this community is absolutely integral to keeping the military successful, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if we champion each other and we take care of each other, then our spouses can do what they do. And whatever that looks like, it's just important to stick together and champion each other. And I couldn't do it without the support of the other spouses.
How do stop losses work on Kraken? Let's say I have a birthday party on Wednesday night, but an important meeting Thursday morning. So Sensible Me pre-books a taxi for 10 p.m. with alerts. Voila! I won't be getting carried away and staying out till 2. That's stop loss orders on Kraken, an easy way to plan ahead. Go to kraken.com and see what crypto can be. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Interactive Inc., PWI, DBA Kraken. View PWI's disclosures at kraken.com/legal/disclosures.
Ready to launch a career and future you can be proud of? Welcome to Merrill, where an industry-leading advisor training program will help you get licensed. And with lead gen support from Bank of America's vast customer base, you'll get the referrals you need to establish your own practice. It's time to see your career charge forward with Merrill. Apply now at careers.bankofamerica.com. Copyright 2024 Bank of America Corporation.
Yeah, John, we've heard from so many people the importance of community in whatever form that comes in, and how instrumental that has been when people are at sort of pivotal moments in their life. That's been very common to hear. And then finding the purpose and passion, in your case, Sarah, it sounds like you get a lot of gratification and fulfillment from helping others in whatever form that comes in, whether it be healthcare or financial analytics. You're just making an impact in your own way in each of those different circumstances, which is really awesome. And you said that working with Hire Heroes really created some tremendous opportunity for you in this next stage of your life. Tell us a little bit more about that experience, if you can remember the person you worked with, and not just the work stuff, but what else that has also allowed you to think about and do as a military spouse.
Absolutely. I love Hire Heroes, and I will tell anybody who is looking to, even explore the next step from the military as a spouse, as a service member, as a veteran, that they need to make a stop there. I worked with Allison Barney, best transition specialist there is.
Nice.
And she was phenomenal. She really helped me come off the sidewalk to an extent. Like, when I got laid off, it was just like, oh, here we go again. I'm on my third act. How am I going to reinvent myself again?
Yeah.
This is kind of an economic downturn right now. It was really, really tight job market, and just the idea of trying to navigate that again. And she said, hey, just take a step back. You are amazing. You are prepared for this.
Wow.
You have the skills. You are the easiest client to work with because you already know kind of what you want. You just need to stand up and put yourself out there. And she brought me out of a funk. She's amazing. And I can't even tell you how many versions of my resume we went through together and how many times we reworded my skill section to try and tailor something specific for a job that I wanted. And I kind of giggled because when I did the fellowship and I was interviewed by Raymond James, one of the things that the interview panel did was say, your resume is really amazing. I mean, you have all this random experience, but it's so tied together And, you have a very diverse skill set, but everything is just nicely in here. I was like, that's Allison. Thank you. But that company, I mean, they have so many resources and so many ways to encourage people and pick them up and help get you on the path that you need to be on. And it's not them doing it for you. It's them doing it with you. And that's the difference. They're not just taking your resume and redoing it and saying, here, go out and get a job. They're saying, where do you need to build your skills? What do you need? Do you need a mentor? Do you need a LinkedIn review? I had a phenomenal mentor when I was going through there too, Michael, who took time to sit down with me and talk about salary negotiation and end goals. And I've never negotiated my own salary. I've just been very happy to have a job.
Yeah.
So, negotiating something for myself for the first time was just exciting and nerve-wracking, and my heart was going through the roof. It was just quite a thrilling experience for me. And then they gave me a subscription to Coursera. So I was able to continue working on some extra data skills and take another Tableau class and just do things to help build my portfolio so that I would be a more valuable contributor to my company. And, they just do that day in, day out. And the amount of skill and care that they put in is just phenomenal. And I can't say enough wonderful things about them. And, I've started mentoring through them. And if I could give back just 1/10 of what they gave me, that would be fantastic.
That's awesome.
It's a pretty
Sarah.
good testimonial right there.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good there.
Yeah.
And it's been consistent, being able to name the person.
Yep.
And the impact the person from Hire Heroes has had on the guests that we've had on our show. It's very consistent. So it's a testament to the organization and their approach to helping others in a very constructive and personal sort of one-to-one approach to custom tailor it for that individual rather than more of like a generic cookie cutter style of approach that maybe exists elsewhere in the world. So I know John and I are proud to be helping them, and we love sharing these incredible stories.
I mean, you named it, Michael, the fact that multiple people have gotten on and named the person that has helped them out so much and named specific ways in which they've helped them and boosted confidence and got them back on their feet. And Sarah, I love that how you say they put you back on the sidewalk or scoop you up off with a spatula. It is a free coach to help you back into the job market and to make yourself competitive. Not that you're not competitive already, but sometimes we don't see the things that we've just gotten customary to. We don't see the strengths because they're not strengths anymore because we use them every day, right? And then somebody comes along like Hire Heroes USA and says, hey, Sarah, did you remember this thing that you did back 2-3 years ago? That was really impressive. Like that should be on the forefront of your resume. And I love how they look at all aspects and angles and figure out ways to make us competitive and figure out ways to boost our confidence again. So we can walk into that negotiating conversation and demand what we should be paid or what you should be paid. So I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, I still text Allison and, we give each other pep talks now, and just building that relationship with her.
Yeah.
Starting as a client, and then I would call her a friend.
Yeah.
That organization is full of the most humble and amazing individuals, and they make a phenomenal team, and they make it different every single day.
Yeah.
You said something earlier, Sarah, about you are not your job. Your job is not your identity, but those skills that you accumulate from each of those experiences over time represent a dimension of who you are or what you're able to do. The feedback you've shared about Hire Heroes should give anybody encouragement that working with them helps them understand that you're going to have something that's crafted around who you are as an individual and what you're able to deliver in a way that is applicable in many facets of life, including employment across a number of different industries and areas of work. So it's just, I'm so thankful that there's organizations out there that provide the type of service to people in need, and in this case, Attire Heroes for employment of military families.
Yeah.
Because, again, having that purpose and contributing to society in whatever way that is, it really is sort of a foundational element of a person's overall well-being. And sometimes we get lost as souls in the world about who we are and what we want to do and how we want to help. And they sort of help guide you in that way in a spectacular form.
Absolutely. I think it's very easy to get lost along the way when you're a military spouse. I mean, there are certain times or locations where you don't really like where you live, or your community just doesn't jive the same way the last one did. And it's very easy. And you see a lot in the spouse community where people kind of spiral down into a rabbit hole, and mental health can be a huge problem. And for me, having a job, having something that I'm working toward and building, no matter what it is, just helps keep me spiraling down that rabbit hole. And so partnering with Attire Heroes USA, or teaching yoga and giving it for free to soldiers, or bringing cookies to my spouse's battalion when there's been a crisis, and just sitting with people. These are things that are important.
Yep.
And these are things that make a difference in that community. And when you have organizations that have such a strong structure to be able to help build the communities at every step along the way, you need to leverage them. And I absolutely encourage everybody to leverage your resources. We have never lived in an era that's had so many resources.
Yeah.
And some of them just shine better than others. And very well tapped into a number of different networks and communities. And this is one that has really, truly made a difference for me. I could never thank them enough for being there as a support.
Yeah.
What do you say to someone who's a little fearful of being vulnerable and sharing that I'm having like struggles in whatever it may be, and showing that vulnerability, either the way they were brought up or how they live life, it's just not normally in the cards. But many people will tell you it's encouraged to do, to sort of get you over that hump. What do you say to those folks?
I say everybody's road looks different. But at the end of the day, you need to know what your destination is. And along that way, there will be people, there will be things that can help you get to those places. So what do I have that I can help you get to that space? Do you need to sit down and just have an ear? Do you want me to look at your resume? Do you just need a glass of wine? What is it that you need in this moment that I can share with you to help you overcome that struggle? And, one of the amazing things with military spouses is there's always somebody in an up and a down and in a roller coaster. And the people that are on the up are always willing to pull somebody up with them. And you just need to find those people.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just need that reminder to pick your head up and just keep going, because perseverance is half the battle. If you can just take a step out of bed, that's one step closer to your end goal. And you just need to find that perseverance to just keep making steps.
That's good.
And it's not easy. I know that I've had to rely on people to help, get me through those moments too.
Yeah.
So,
Sarah, I have a couple good guesses, and I'm seeing it right in front of me, and I'd love to get into how you became Military Spouse of the Year. But I think the route to getting there was being a chapter lead and working with so many military spouses. Tell us about that role as a chapter lead for 3 chapters, and talk to us about kind of the day in and day out and kind of what your job entailed?
So I started out with the Military Spouse Networking Group back in the day when they were called In-Year Career. And, I was working from home. We were stationed in Tennessee, and my spouse was deployed 2 weeks after we got there, and I knew nobody. And I was like, and it was the first place we had been stationed as a married couple that was an active, like a big active duty base.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing really about the military community, and it felt kind of awkward when I tried to go to things because everybody had their kids with them and nobody worked, and they were already this tight group of people, and I'm very introverted. So I would come to things like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. And I realized there has to be someone else out there like me.
Yeah.
Who, is stuck at home, working from home, doesn't know anybody. They want to build their professional network or their job. So I, being a little resourceful person, went on Google and started Googling, military spouse professional groups. And that's how I came across them. And I went to a random lady's house for a meeting and just showed up and was like, hi, I'm Sarah. Am I in the right place? And they were like, come in. Nobody asked who my spouse was or what he did. They just said, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah.
Tell me about your journey. And that, in that moment, was exactly what I needed.
That's
and
amazing.
From that point forward, I was like, this is my network. These are my people. So the chapter lead for that job, PC asked over to Washington, D.C., and they had an opening, and she said, hey, I'd really like you to step in when I leave.
Wow.
So I tried to step in. They were going through a transition, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce was taking over In-Year Career, which was amazing because that meant more resources for us and more dedicated people from the top to be able to help us build and develop and set a strategy. And so from there, I went to Korea, and that's when I met another person through that network to be able to start building more on that. And in building that network, we met with higher ranking military officials, with contractors, with different people around the base in Korea, and talked to them about military spouse employment and how we can fill in gaps and we can do things locally without them having to hire somebody from the United States, fly them out, pay for their living expenses.
Yeah.
You can hire a spouse. And I don't know if we moved the needle very much right away, but I know that every millimeter that needle moves is a step in the right direction. But while we were there, we did partnerships with the morale and welfare and with the family readiness groups, and we put together LinkedIn sessions and networking and potlucks and dress for success. Everybody brought all their old work clothes that didn't fit anymore, and we had this big clothes swap, and we had a lot of fun. And then moving to Fort Polk, I was unemployed again, but we built a network and we maintained some forward momentum. We got a military spouse photographer to come and do a headshot. We worked on elevator pitches, just anything to keep the needle moving in the right direction for military spouse employment. And if it meant strategic volunteering and, volunteering at the hospital because you knew you weren't getting in, that's still something I'm putting on my resume. And it's still something that gives me purpose.
Yeah.
And helping other people figure out what does that mean for them and helping raise awareness that military spouses, you don't have to hire them as CEO of something, but what does success look like to them? And how can you help break down barriers to get them into the position that will mean a difference for them, for their families, for the economic welfare of their families? Childcare is so expensive.
Yeah.
And people often don't work because they can't afford childcare. So if you can break down the barriers to help people get into the right job so that they can afford it, that gives them the ability to progress in their career alongside their spouse and have, better retirement when they come out. and become better role models for their kids to say, hey, I was able to break down barriers and do hard things. And I'm not saying you should sacrifice time with your child or you should put your child in daycare. That's a very personal choice. But, some families want that. Some families need that. And if I can help move that needle, I will. And that's a true, deep passion of mine, is to champion people and help people understand how important it is that spouses have something of their own. And it doesn't have to be one size fits all. It just has to be the size that fits them.
Yeah.
Sarah, through this journey, we've talked about some of the scary parts, but looking back now and reflecting, I don't know if you've given this much thought, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but what are the one or two things that have been the surprises to you in a positive way about yourself? Like, what have you been like, wow, I can't believe I was able to do that or think that, or, through the course of these deployments and traveling all over the world and these different jobs and things, looking back, what are the things that you're like, pretty cool I was able to do that?
I think one of the things that I like the most about this journey is how uncomfortable it has made me. I mean, I know you talk on your show a lot about doing something that makes you uncomfortable. I mean, putting myself out there, coming on a podcast, terrifying. Like, putting yourself out there to meet people and to talk about something that you're passionate about, or to put yourself out there and say, I'm absolutely the person you want to hire. And I know that, you may not even have a job opening, but I want to network with you and I want to talk to you and I want to learn from you. That's terrifying to me. And Sarah, who, married her spouse back in 2011, if I'm in a set situation, when I was at graduate fairs and people came up to me and they said, talk to me about this, absolutely, I'll talk to you about this. But Sarah, who has to take herself out of a comfortable bubble to go talk to people to further pursue a means to an end, that's just terrifying. And I have had to learn to just get out there, just go do it. Just put your foot in front of the other one. Stop caring about, what other people think, and just go be brave.
Nice.
Leave the house and do something scary.
I love it.
What a great message for spouses who may think, maybe they're new to this military career path, and they think I've got to just succumb to what my husband does, or just follow him around aimlessly, biding time until he decides to get out and then we can start something. But no, I think you're giving hope to those spouses to find something or start the process to make themselves hireable and make themselves get out and enjoy the life that they're living. I mean, their spouse is in the service. They've got the requirements they've got in front of them, and they are having a mission that's given to them. And I think you're giving hope to those spouses who don't think they have a mission, that they can go out and create their own. They can create their own narrative, and they can go out and be great wherever they're at. And again, I think you're breathing hope and life into those spouses, and you're able to just give them something to strive for. And that, I think, is why you became the spouse of the year, I imagine.
I mean, I hope I can. There is nothing wrong with the person who champions their spouse's career, or who makes, spouses club their thing. The spouses club goes and raises hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue for scholarships or community foundation grant. That's something you can put on your resume. That's something I'm terrible about. I can't raise money. But I have friends and neighbors who have, dedicated their time to doing that, and they don't understand that that's a translatable skill. So I hope that as people look at their time of being a military spouse and they look at what they've accomplished, there's a lot more that you can put on a resume than you think. And if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not special. I'm just trying to navigate the waters the same as anybody else. So bring people up with you. And if you know of something that can help them, help them. And if I can do anything to make my community or help blaze a path for future spouses, I want to do it because I know this is a newer path. Spouses traditionally don't work, and now we need to. It's a different economic time.
Yeah.
So I hope that I can help leave a legacy of improved relations for spouses and educating employers on why spouses are the right people to hire. I mean, this is my 4th or 5th different career pivot. And if I can do it and I can be successful, I'm not unique. Somebody else can too.
And I think that's one thing that COVID was really good at for the military spouses. You know, it normalized working from home, and all those spouses that thought, oh, I've got to be present where my service member spouse is. I've got to find a job in that location and very narrow job pool. It widened the aperture for service members like yourself who could work from Korea, who could work from, Alabama or Hawaii and find regular jobs where they don't have to just be narrowed down to teaching or multi-level marketing or, the normal things that a lot of spouses end up choosing because they do feel confined to those requirements. But I think COVID helped normalize a lot for the service members' spouses and provide opportunities like you've already talked about to give them hope and give them that future that's exciting. So
absolutely. And find the light wherever it shines.
Yeah.
And build it.
Yep. So Sarah, we're starting to wind down the show here a little bit, and we always like to end with a question to our guests. I know you've talked already about perseverance and community and bravery, but we like to ask, because John and I are big supporters of just getting 1% better every day, which I think you alluded to a little bit in the conversation. What practical advice or insights you want to share with our audience who are contemplating or just getting started in their second act in life?
Take advantage of your resources and every opportunity that you can. There are so many free resources out there, from Hire Heroes USA to YouTube, or to a cheap subscription to Coursera. Do something to put yourself on the path that you want to take. And it doesn't have to be a huge step. It's just a step. But take advantage of everything. Learn from everything and everyone you meet. There is a lesson to be taught in every encounter you have with someone or in every position you've ever worked. And, if you need to write it down, or just reflect on it, and maybe just spend a few minutes every day reflecting on, what did I learn today and how could I do that better next time? Is this encounter not very good? Okay, what can I do to improve it?
Yep.
And just take it one day at a time. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And, if you persevere and you capitalize on opportunities, you'll take yourself further down the path than you thought was possible.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect words of wisdom to leave our audience with.
Sarah, I want to thank you for coming on the show, for talking about the grit and perseverance that you had to show over the last 13 years in your various career paths, from healthcare and education to data analytics, now to Raymond James. You did it. You persevered through those changes, through those moves, and showed that you don't have to take a backseat to the spouse that's serving. You can get out front and present yourself admirably to champion for yourself and what you're worth and the value that you have ingrained. And so I want to thank you for giving hope to our listeners. And I knew that's what you were going to be able to provide before you even came on the show. So Thank you for letting that come out. And I know that there's going to be a couple listeners who are interested in hearing more about your story.
Oh, yeah.
And connecting and maybe having you provide them hope in the same way that you were provided it. So where can people connect with you the best?
Absolutely. I am very active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
My profile should be under sarah.nightengale. I would love to connect, to talk to you more about my journey, help connect people with resources and figure out what's the best next step. But I'm on LinkedIn. Happy to share.
Perfect. Great.
I mean, Sarah, thank you again for coming on and sharing your story, sharing your journey, providing the inspiration folks might need to, like you said, put one foot in front of another to get going in a direction that will lead to unexpected and amazing things. And it's been an awesome episode, and we look forward to reconnecting with our audience again next week.
Yeah. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
The Second Act with Michael and John stars Michael Newborn and John Ballenger. The podcast is produced by Seltzer Kings. For more information on the show, check out michaelandjohn.com, or if you'd like to get involved in the conversation, give the guys a shout on their socials at The Second Act with Michael and John on most platforms. Thanks for listening.
Seltzer Kings
Podcasts.